DreamBender Chapter 11, written from the point of view of Jeremy. I started spending time at the Memory Museum, a small building near the children's house. When we were little, our caregivers had taken us there to see items that had survived from before the warming, objects made of metal and plastic, things that floated. I especially loved some old tapestries and paintings that before the warming had been sealed in a church for safekeeping. They showed a world long gone, even from our imaginations. The caregivers had explained that dreambenders respected the past, but they didn't dwell in it. The important thing for us was in the future, envisioning it, planning it, shaping it to be safe for everyone. It was our tapestry, our canvas, and I was shut out of it. Fascinated by the old objects in the museum, I took up collecting. I searched the meadow, looking for things the museum keepers might have missed. Collecting was easier in the daytime, so I shifted my schedule. At first, being awake during the day felt uncomfortable, but I got used to it. Most dreambenders were asleep at that time, so I didn't have to deal with their questions and stares. I liked that. But there was something else. I began enjoying the sunshine, not just its warmth, but the way it made things jump out at you, clear and distinct. One sunny morning, I found 3 beads hidden in the grass. Bright, colorful balls with holes in the middle for stringing. I carried them in my pocket and liked to cradle them in the palm of my hand. An oddly shaped object made of plastic was wedged beneath a bush. When I pulled it out, I saw that it was a toy vehicle of some kind. There were front and back wheels, a kind of comb jutting out in front, and a connector at the back, as if the vehicle were designed to pull something. Obviously, the toy depicted a machine of some kind. I tried to imagine a kid playing with it, but I couldn't. I was careful not to show it to anyone. I literally stumbled across my best find. I had taken a long walk away from the dreaming field and out to the woods that lined one edge of the meadow. As I walked, I tripped on something. Part of a rounded metal object was poking up from the ground. I got a stick, dug around it, and finally managed to lift it out of the dirt. It was the strangest thing, just big enough to hold in my hands. 2 metal tubes were fastened together with glass at each end. The glass in one cylinder was cracked, but the other was fine. I cleaned the glass, and without knowing why, I raised the tubes to my eyes and gazed through them at a nearby tree. "Hey!" I exclaimed. "Hey!" I had started talking to myself. I guess that happens when you spend so much time alone. Most of the time I mumbled, but this was different. I was seeing something truly amazing. The tree looked tiny and distant. Taking the tubes from my eyes, I checked the tree. It was still just a few yards in front of me. I looked through the tubes again, checking things, the grass, my feet, a bird. All of them seemed far away. I turned the tubes around and looked through the other end. The tree was right on top of me, wonderful in its detail. I could see every ridge in the bark, every leaf on the branches. A worm inched its way across one of the leaves. The worm was green with red spots. It stopped and munched on the edge of the leaf. "Hello, little guy," I said. As I studied the worm, I wondered what I'd be able to see when things were far away. Holding the tubes carefully, I climbed to the top of Looking Hill. Bringing the tubes up to my eyes, I gazed back toward the dreaming field. A mower was working there, keeping the field neat and preparing it for the evening session. He was so close that I seemed to be floating in the air just over his shoulder. I called and waved, "Hello!" He didn't hear me. Swinging the tube sideways, I shifted my view to the river and the island. The cottage was nearby, almost close enough to touch. Smoke drifted from the chimney, all that was left of yesterday's plan. When Leif and I used to climb Looking Hill, we had gazed at the forest between. I remembered something he had told me one day. "Between what?" he had said. "Huh? What do you think it means? If it's between, there's something on each side, right?" For some reason, that had made me uncomfortable. I said, "I'm the one who's supposed to ask questions." "Let's say we're on one side. What's on the other?" "How should I know?" "Think," he said. "All I know is in the meadow," I told him, "plus what I see in dreams." "And? And what do you see in dreams?" I shrugged. "The city." He grinned. I asked him why, but he never told me. Now I thought of it again and wondered what he had meant. Leif always seemed to know things the rest of us didn't. I wasn't sure how he knew, but he did. Maybe he learned things from the fixers he liked to spend time with. It set him apart from the rest of us and gave him a kind of power. Thinking of Leif's questions, I turned away from the meadow and, using the tubes, looked out over the woods toward the empty horizon. "Something's there," I murmured. A faint shape appeared, shimmering like a ghost. It was tall and thin, a tower of some kind. As my eyes adjusted, more towers materialized behind it. There was a whole row of them, wispy as webs, the color of the sky. I lowered the tubes. The towers disappeared, leaving the horizon empty once more. I had seen those towers before, but not from this angle. In fact, they were as familiar as the streets and faces of the dreamscape, because they were part of it. They were always there, a constant backdrop. I said, "They're in the city." "That city's on the other side of the between." I thought had come right behind it. "I can go there." As quickly as it came, a question followed. Why? It was just one word, simple, honest, the question beneath all my questions. I lowered the tubes, and the singer's face floated in front of me. Her eyes sparkled, and her hair shone. What would it be like to see her in person? We didn't need to have any contact. I wouldn't meet her or speak with her. I just wanted to watch her and know she was real. But it was more than the singer. I wanted to meet the people whose dreams we bent. I wanted to see the place where they lived, not in the dreamscape, but in real life. I wanted to think about why we changed their dreams and what kind of world we were shaping. Going there was against every rule I'd ever learned. If I got caught, my life as a dreambender would be over. A feeling rose up inside of me like a thick, hot liquid. It bubbled up and overflowed, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. It was dangerous. It was stupid. But I had no choice. "I'm going to the city," I said.